Hi, welcome to day 8 of the confinement series. I'm going to call today's kind of conversation Navigating the Gray. And I got that from a colleague of mine, Greg Tansky, who did this brilliant summary on when we change, how important change is, and particularly how uncomfortable it is in the phases we go through. We're in a weird space, we're in what we call the gray space, where the old way that we did life is gone. The virus, the shutdown, it changed that. It's gone. So everything that we were used to that was normal and we understood, that's gone. On the other hand, the new, where we're going to end up, it isn't there yet. And we're stuck right here in the gray space where we kind of don't know. It's not old, it's not new. We haven't ended everything and we haven't started everything. And we definitely haven't finished everything. And when you're in that gray space, that's where anxiety comes up, fear, depression, concern, worry, all of those. And I have to tell you that positive thinking isn't enough. Just like, hey, I'm just going to be happy. That never has worked and never will work. Resilience comes from dealing with things as they really are, not making them better than they are and not making them worse than they are, but actually dealing with it the way they are. And if you notice those feelings of anxiety coming in, of depression coming in, of loneliness coming in, of being fearful coming in, acknowledge it, label it, name it, feel it. But then don't stop there. Don't be stopped in your fear. Don't be stopped in your anxiety. That's where once you feel, then forge. Forge forward, move forward, take a step. One of the hardest things in the world that's taught by nearly every religious society in the world is that at some point in your life, you're going to walk to the edge of the light. And right when you get to the edge of the light, you need to take one step into the darkness. And the light will move. It always does. But it requires that first step on your part. In the hazy, gray, dark gray space, there is light. There is an end, and you're going to get there. But you have to take that first step. And it starts with understanding a few key principles of how to navigate the gray. And I want to share with you 5 principles, 5 thoughts, 5 tools that you can use to navigate the gray. And once you understand, okay, first, Stephen Covey taught this, Viktor Frankl taught this. We talked about his man's search for meaning in a previous thing. And what Viktor Frankl said, and this is what determined survival in the Nazi concentration camps, was that there's a gap between stimulus and response. And how you use that gap determines the whole quality of your life. For some of us, that gap is very short and very small. And this confinement time is a chance for us to kind of expand our gap, build more ability so that there's more of a gap between the stimulus and response. Because how you use that gap will determine the whole quality of your life. It'll determine the quality of your relationships. It'll determine your ability to succeed. And minding that gap is critical. I love, if you've ever traveled in Europe, especially in London, they're always at every train stop when the underground comes through, it always says, mind your gaps. And I actually have a little sign that says, mind your gaps. We oftentimes have a gap between our values and what we want and what we actually do. We often have a gap between who we really want to be and who we show up as sometimes. And if you can, during this time, mind your gaps. When you feel the fear coming, when you feel the anxiety coming, when you feel the depression starting to set in, recognize this. Say, hey, wait a minute, I know this. This is the gap. This is the gray space. Mind your gaps and understand stimulus, response. As you expand the gap, you have choice, you have control, you have power. No matter how difficult things get, you always have choice if you expand the gap. Number 2 is this idea that I was talking about, that feel the anxiety, feel the struggle, but forge forward. Take a step to the edge of the light. Make sure that you continue to move forward. It is not about comparing yourself to other people or how other people are handling it. No one has your unique set of genetics, your unique set of experiences, your unique set of brain chemistry. What you can do is take one more step. No matter what else is going on, no matter where you are on the path, you can take one more step. We call this in psychology, we call this couch bound, where you're sitting on the couch and you can't get up. You know you should get up. You want to get up. You want to go exercise. You want to do something, but you just feel stuck on the couch and it feels so overwhelming to step up and get off the couch, you don't do it. right? Gap between stimulus and response, you can move just your pinky finger. We would make people do this. If you just move your pinky finger, what it signals to your brain is, hey, wait a minute, I can make choices, I can move forward, I can do things. And if you can move your finger, you can move your hand. If you can move your hand, you can move your elbow. If you can move your elbow, you can move your waist. If you can move your waist, you can get up off the couch. You don't need to be couch bound. Number 3, collect and tell stories. This is so critical that I want you to, can you imagine if every day you got your family together, you got your friends together via Skype, you got colleagues together via Zoom, and if you're meeting via Zoom in your meetings, do this with every single meeting that you begin at work as you do work virtually on Zoom or on Microsoft Teams or whatever platform you're using. I shouldn't just say Zoom. What went well? What inspiring story? What did you see? What did you hear? What did you read? What did you notice on Facebook? Like, what inspiring stories? Who did something great? And start retelling positive stories at the beginnings of your meeting, at your dinner table, at your breakfast table, when you get together. Start collecting these stories all through the day as you hear, see, and read just amazing stuff that we as human beings are doing to step out, to help each other, to be there with each other. Write them down, jot them down. Don't forget them. Take a screenshot on your phone if there's this great story that you saw on social media or on the news or while you were reading. Collect them all so when you get together with other people, whether virtually, via Zoom and Google Docs and all that kind of stuff, or whether you're getting together physically in your own home with your people, and share and talk about stories of inspiring things that people did. Then relive our history. As human beings, we transmit history through story. Culture is determined by story. Talk about stories of making it out of World War II, coming out of the Depression, surviving polio, getting through Vietnam. There are 9/11, the 2008 global financial crisis. There are so many examples of where we have adapted and overcome and gotten better and made it more. But make it a point to consistently collect and share stories of inspiration, of overcoming, of making great things happen. Number 4, and I cannot emphasize this enough, keep a journal. Write these things down. Make note. Think about those of you that are parents and had children. When they were little, all the funny, cute things they said that you thought you'd never forget because they said it all the time. And then they all grow up and you can't remember what they said anymore. In these moments, this is history. For 100 years, people are going to look back and talk about this moment in time, about this event, about the global coronavirus pandemic. Wouldn't it be great to record that? To write down in the moment, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Write down these inspiring stories. Write down the great stuff your family has done. Write down the amazing things that have happened. And 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you'll have a record of that to share. The very process of writing it down is going to make it more real. You're going to associate to it more strongly. Those positive, good feelings are going to sink deeper into your heart and into your nervous system, and you're going to be able to recall them. Now, number 5, growth and contribution. That we are wired for that. Tony Robbins teaches that we have 6 human needs that drive all our behavior. 4 of them is what he calls the needs of the psychology, or that are your basic needs. And he says 2 of them are what he calls the spiritual needs. And that is the need to grow, because as a living organism, if you're not growing, you're dying, and the need to contribute to make things better. When our focus is on growing, stepping up, showing up as a person that our family and friends and coworkers need us to be, we create meaning, we create purpose, and most importantly, we create connections. Think about it. Handling your gap, right, builds connection. Forging forward when you're afraid builds connection. Collecting stories builds connections across generations. Keeping a journal builds connection. Growth and contribution build connection. And I want you to think about this question. Who can I be at this moment to show up for the people that I love? Can you imagine if you asked yourself that 5, 10, 15 times a day? Who can I be at this moment to show up for the people that I love? Each of us has gifts. Now, we don't all have the same gifts. All of us has different gifts. I'd have several people say to me, how do you get on camera and do that? I don't know. I can just do it. But there are a lot of gifts I don't have, but you have those. We all have unique gifts. One of the ways to contribute is to stop, pause, think, feel, and ask yourself, what gifts do I have? And I don't want you to think of the big gifts or the amazing things or stuff that stick out. I want you to think of small, simple gifts that make the biggest difference in the time of crisis. Marvin J. Ashton gave a beautiful talk once called Share Your Gifts. And in it, he listed what he would call the less common gifts. The gift of asking, how you doing? Are you okay? The gift of listening and just being still so other people can talk. Not giving advice, not giving feedback, simply listening so someone can be heard. Some people have the gift of hearing. They can hear what people aren't saying. They can hear what they mean even though they have a hard time articulating it. Some people, and this is definitely not me, have the gift of speaking in the small, still voice. That calm, powerful way of speaking that just draws people in. Some people have the gift of weeping. They have the ability to sit with people in pain and simply be there with them. You can't stop the suffering. You can't change the pain. You can't go through anything other but being able to sit with people as they go through their pain, the gift of weeping. Some people have the gift of avoiding contention. Some people have the gift of being agreeable. That's a gift that I need more of. Some of you possess the gift of not passing judgment. You can simply meet people where they're at without judgment and walk hand in hand to a better place. Some of you have the gift of caring for others. And you just give. It comes naturally. One of the great lessons that I learned as I worked with couples in marriage therapy and so forth is that you can only experience pain in a relationship when you withhold your love. When you're giving your love, you can't experience pain. Some of you have the gift of perspective. When all the world's breaking loose, you have the ability to contextualize it, frame it, put it in a way that everybody goes, oh, that's it. Now I feel better. Some of you have the gift of humor. Some of you have the gift of compassion. Some of you have the gift, what I call the MacGyver gift. You are amazing adapters and inventors. No matter what goes wrong, no matter how many little resources you have, you can find a way to get it. Tony Robbins will always say, people do not lack resources, they lack resourcefulness. And that is a great gift. Whatever your gift is, find your gift and show up with your gift. Bring it to the party. Can you imagine if everybody in your family, everybody in your work group, everybody in your community that you're still connecting and talking with, virtually or otherwise, showed up every day and brought their gift? It's like the best potluck ever, but it's the potluck of the human spirit, where you don't need everybody to bring the meatballs. You don't need everybody to bring a salad. You don't need everybody to bring a dessert. We need everybody's gift. And can you imagine if we got our family, our work teams, and our community to show up at the potluck of the human experience every single day, and they brought their gift. They brought their compassion, their love, their listening, their asking, their hearing, their weeping, their humor, their MacGyver. Bring your gift. Now, if you want to follow up, there was a tremendous article today that was on Smart Brief that was from David Fassel and Daniel Goleman. And it was called Leading Ourselves, 3 Keys in the Time of the Coronavirus. Just a beautiful follow-up to this where they talk about different micro skills and micro habits and ways to make all of this work. But what I'd ask you to do today is take the time and really listen, really feel, and ask yourself, what are my gifts? How can I bring my gifts to the table? How can I find a way to come to the great potluck banquet of the human experience and bring my gift to the table so that others can take their spoonful or their gift? And if we all bring our gifts together, not only are we going to survive, but we're going to thrive. You will bring the greatest parts of the human spirit: love, healing, hope, and light. And that is what's going to transform all of us. We do not need to survive. We can transform. But the only way to do that is to focus on contribution and focus on growth, to bring our gift, to step out. So our 5 things: manage the gap, mind your gaps. 2, feel the fear and then forge forward. 3, collect and tell positive stories, so that you're constantly talking about how we overcome and what we saw today that was inspiring and beautiful and wonderful, and then share those all over everywhere you can. Keep a journal. This is history, and you have a chance to record it in your own words, in your own name, and with your own feelings. And then 5, focus on growth and contribution and bring your gift. I hope that you can apply these principles and use these tools and create the hope, the love, the connection, and the light that we all need.